I work at a small diner in a rural town. It's not a glamorous job, but it pays the bills, and I get to meet some interesting people. Most of them are regulars who come in for their coffee and pie, or their burgers and fries. They're friendly enough and they tip well. But there's one customer who always gives me the creeps. He only comes in late at night when I'm about to close up. He's tall and thin with pale skin and dark hair. He wears a long black coat and a fedora that covers his eyes. He never says a word, just points at the menu and slides some cash across the counter. He always orders the same thing, a slice of cherry pie and a glass of milk. He eats slowly, savoring every bite, and he never looks up from his plate or at me. He just stares at the pie as if it's the most fascinating thing in the world. I don't know why he freaks me out so much. Maybe it's his silence, or his appearance, or his odd choice of food. Maybe it's the way he leaves no trace behind whenever he finishes his meal. No crumbs on the plate, no stains on the glass, no fingerprints on the cash. But what really scares me is what happens after he leaves. Every time he comes in, something bad happens in town. A car accident, a fire, a murder. It's always something violent and tragic, and it always involves someone I know. The first time he came in was 2 months ago. The next day, my best friend Jenny was killed in a hit and run on her way to school. The second time he came in was 3 weeks ago. And the next day, my boss Frank was found dead in his apartment with stab wounds all over his body. The third time he came in was last week. The day my boyfriend Mike was shot by an intruder who broke into our house. And tonight, he came in again. He ordered his usual slice of cherry pie and glass of milk. He ate slowly and quietly as usual. He paid with cash as usual. But this time, he looked at me. He lifted his head and stared right into my eyes with a cold and cruel smile. He said one word: delicious. And then he got up and left. I don't know what he meant by that word. I don't know what he wants from me. I don't know what he's going to do to me. But I do know one thing. I'm not going to make it through this night. I locked up the diner and ran to my car, my heart pounding in my chest. As I drove home, I couldn't shake the feeling that someone was following me. I checked my rearview mirror, but I didn't see anything. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. When I got home, I locked all the doors and windows and turned on all the lights. I tried to calm myself down, telling myself that I was just being paranoid. But deep down, I knew that something was wrong. I heard a noise outside, a rustling in the bushes. I peered through the window, but I couldn't see anything. And then I heard a knock at the door. My heart skipped a beat. Who could it be at this hour? I hesitated and then slowly approached the door. I looked through the peephole, but all I saw was darkness. "Who is it?" I called out. No answer. I cautiously opened the door, ready to slam it shut at the first sign of danger. But there was no one there. Just a slice of cherry pie and a glass of milk on the doorstep. I recoiled in horror. It was the same order that the man had made at the diner. How did he know where I lived? And why did he leave me this sinister gift? Suddenly, the lights went out. I was plunged into darkness with only the faint glow of the moonlight coming in through the window. I heard footsteps, slow and deliberate, coming closer and closer. I could feel his presence, his malevolent energy. He was in the room with me. I tried to run, but my feet wouldn't move. I was paralyzed with fear. I felt a cold breath on my neck, and then a voice whispered in my ear, "Delicious." And then, nothing. I woke up the next morning lying on the floor. The lights were back on and everything seemed normal. But I knew that something had happened, something terrible. I went to the diner later that day hoping to find some answers, but the man was nowhere to be seen. The other customers looked at me with pity and concern, as if they knew what had happened to me. I quit my job that day and left the town for good. I never found out who the man was, or what he wanted from me. But I knew that I would never forget him, or the taste of cherry pie. Hey, so some weird stuff kept happening to me and I didn't really know what to do, so I just recently quit my job at Chik-fil-A. This is going to be fairly long with a lot of context, so I'm sorry in advance. I was working there for over a year before Amanda was hired. One day, on the day she arrived, honestly, everything was great. Amanda seemed super sweet. She was great on primary fries, so quick, which is exactly what we needed as we were getting low on BOH staff and everyone hates fries. After just a few days of working with her on Tuesday, Wednesday, and again on Friday about 2 months ago, I thought we were kind of friends, honestly. So of course I asked her to lunch for Saturday. No, not romantic or anything, but she declined and made a whole bunch of weird excuses, including, well, I think there may be spiders there. And at first I just kind of thought she was arachnophobic. I don't know. Well, one day a few weeks ago was really what clued me in that something was seriously wrong with this girl. She and I were working prep, and honestly, it was a really relaxed day, and there were 2 of us, so it was super easy. Prep was where we made salads and wraps and stuff, if you're unfamiliar. But she kept slapping and scratching at her arms and legs, and then she looked over and smiled and said, "I'm sorry, I'm having a bad day." I figured that she had some mental illness like my cousin does, and she says that sometimes when she's kind of all over the place and not really there, really struggling. So of course, I tried to support her and just laughed it off, and I told her that we all have bad days, and I think that was actually Monday, okay? So on Wednesday, I worked with her again, but this time she was super weird. More than last time, I don't know. Amanda would frequently stare into space. She would mumble to herself. She went through these periods where she would scratch at herself or shake violently. I asked if she needed help, and she nodded. I asked if she wanted me to call someone to come pick her up or if I should get the manager, Ross. She told me Ross was evil and that I should stay away from him. But I didn't listen, and I was convinced that she was schizophrenic or something and having a bad day. From there, it only got weirder. She told me that Ross was, and I actually do quote, king of the spiders. I had worked with Ross since I got there, and although there had been some weird stuff that happened when I first started working there, we were friends now, and I hung out with him countless times. Of course, now it really all makes sense. Because you see, when I first met Ross, honestly, he's always been a huge fan of spiders, and he's always had a thing for them. I knew he had a collection of them, but I didn't understand just how far it all went. Well, we were okay after I asked him a few times to keep his hobbies separate from work, and he stopped pestering me with random spider facts and gross mental imagery. But Amanda apparently liked spiders too, until she started working here. So of course, when Ross asked Amanda if she wanted to see a very rare tarantula, I don't know the type for you spider lovers out there, sorry, Amanda agreed to ride with him to his house to see a crappy $8,000 invertebrate. Let me remind you, she knew him for less than 3 days at this time. Amanda wouldn't say anything about what happened at his house, but she was not okay. Whatever he did has seriously and detrimentally damaged her mentally. And the scary thing is, I think it affected me too. Well, of course, people started throwing around allegations of what could have happened, yet I and my coworkers were left there at Chik-fil-A at the mercy of Ross. But that's actually when things got the weirdest, because you see, that Wednesday was the day where I actually had to leave work early to drive Amanda to the hospital. She was in the psychiatric ward trying to work through whatever happened at Ross's house. The whole thing was about 2 weeks ago. From that moment on, I've seen countless spiders at Chik-fil-A. I've stepped on dozens. I see them out of the corner of my eye before they disappear. Sometimes I feel them on my neck, and then they're gone just like that. I don't know, it's so weird. Am I just paranoid now? I've even had to throw out batches of waffle fries at work because I keep finding dozens of huge spiders, wolf spiders, or even black widows, and they keep getting in the oil somehow. So I lift the fry baskets up and set them on that bar thingy, and there's usually this nasty popping sound as dying fried widow spiders jerk and twitch their legs pointlessly. For real, I dropped a batch once during a busy moment at about 6 p.m., and several big black spiders, all disfigured, all gooey, writhed in the grease amongst the fries. I had to drop more, and people had to wait several minutes for more fries. Even weirder, though, is when I went on break and Ross took over, and I came back about 30 minutes later to find him staring directly at me while working, and hard working. We were busy. And I could have sworn, I genuinely mean it, that I really thought that there is a black widow emerging from his eye. Well, it literally looked like his lower eyelid was pulled down as several legs emerged, and then a flattened spider's body slipped out slowly, and it gained its body width as it emerged, kinda. I don't know how to explain it. You just have to see it. So last week I was freaking out, and I hated having to go to work or see Ross at all. It also felt like the whole place was infested with spiders, but nobody did anything or said anything about it. The whole place just gives me the creeps, and I dreaded going in there again. I've decided I'm not ever going back for any reason, even to buy their food. As the amount of spiders I've seen in those fries, it grosses me out beyond belief. I officially quit yesterday morning as I dropped off my uniform and let my boss know. I know it's awful to not put in my 2 weeks, but I can't stand it there. I let my boss know that it was me and not the business, though I didn't tell him about my total paranoia and newfound spider hatred. The other thing is that the very second I left the building, I got the call that Amanda died that morning after suffering from a serious allergic reaction to a bug bite. I hope that was the right thing to do. To leave Chik-fil-A like that with no other job lined up, without putting my 2 weeks in. I couldn't stand it anymore. I was so torn. Right now, I'm still trying to understand what that was that I just experienced. Is Ross really some kind of spider king? Not sure if anyone has run into something like this before, but I've been having the weirdest experience ordering from Uber tonight. I'm doing some prep work for an important meeting tomorrow and decided to order some shawarma to power me through the evening. I put through an order about an hour ago, but every time I'd confirm the order, I'd get the following series of notifications. Placing order, hang tight, order could not be confirmed, please try again later. This restaurant was only available on UberEats, so since it's hard for me to change my mind once I've committed to what I'm going to eat, I kept trying. Once again, placing order, hang tight, order could not be confirmed, please try again later. I gave it a few more attempts. I really didn't want to waste any money on time looking for another restaurant to order from. I double-checked my payment info and other settings just to be safe. Finally, I noticed a change. Placing order, hang tight, Uber Eats TM does not recommend ordering at this hour. Please try another time. Super weird. Usually they specify if the restaurant needs more time to prepare the order, if the payment option I'd selected wasn't working, or if there weren't enough available drivers. Given my futile attempts and the app itself telling me to give it up, I decided to let it go. As I went to close the window and brainstorm my backup plan, picking up a slice from a nearby pizza joint, I noticed a change. The window updated. Placing order. Hang tight. Oh snap, maybe it'll actually go through. My efforts weren't for naught. Order received. Heck yes. All right, back to work. With a newfound sense of motivation, I started plugging away at my meeting prep. Roughly 15 minutes passed before I looked at my tab with the Uber Eats order to see what the estimated arrival time was. It said, preparing your order, arriving at N/A. Weird. No estimate, I guess? I continued reading. Latest arrival by 6/10/2026. Huh. Naturally, I wasn't trying to plan ahead for my future by ordering shawarma for 4 years from now. It took me a couple of minutes to remember that 6/10 is my birthday, though. The app kept updating. Latest arrival by 6/10/2025. Latest arrival by 6/10/2024. Latest arrival by 6/10/2023. Latest arrival by 6/10/1994. Okay, weird. That last one was my actual original birth date. Before I could take it in and figure out exactly what in the world was happening, the screen updated again. Latest arrival by N/A. All right. Cool. They're probably just fixing up some glitches on the website. All good, no reason to panic, right? I tried to go back to my work, but I couldn't focus for too long. After a few minutes, I looked back to check on the app. I wasn't sure if I just missed this one before, but the app was starting to look strange. A few things were off. First, there was no car icon or the details like the type of car, license plate, etc. that were showing up. Where there should have been an icon, there was nothing. The only details that I saw were the driver's name picking up the order was his servant. Second, the location for picking up the order wasn't the restaurant I'd selected. It was my address. I refreshed the page and looked extra carefully just to be sure. But there it was. Picking up your order. And a line leading straight to my house, with nothing else on the map. I checked the receipt just to make sure I didn't actually fudge up the details when I was first ordering. Delivery details. To his throne. Order summary from my address. Amanda Lee, 60 kilograms. Yes, that is my name, and no, I don't recall placing an order for myself to be delivered to his throne. Shoot, I see lights outside my house. I'm writing this from my phone. I ran from my backyard, and I'm currently in an empty park in my neighborhood. The screwed up thing? The pickup location keeps changing based on where I am. I've already seen the drivers reroute 3 times since I first started running. There's more than one person picking up. There's couriers coming from every direction. I've tried calling the cops, but nothing is going through. I've tried my family, my friends, my parents as well, but it immediately goes to voicemail for everyone. Every time I check the app, it just says, your order is taking longer than expected. Then it'll default back to preparing your order. I'm starting to feel a presence around me. Shoot, this is some weird prank, right? Am I losing it? It just updated again. The map on the app just turned red, and the status changed. Your order is almost ready. Amidst my panic and hiding, I noticed a section in the order details that I'd completely missed before. Special instructions. Torso only. We have a tradition of going to buffets for my birthday dinner. As I got older, it became harder to get my small family together for a meal. My brother left for school and my parents both got pretty into their jobs. When the day came, I got lucky and my brother came back for a weekend. My parents were busy but promised we could go to dinner later with just them, and I accepted the offer. If I went out with them later, I could go with my brother now, so I got 2 birthday dinners. I picked out the place I wanted to eat. There was a Chinese buffet pretty close by that I loved. The food was great, and they had some aquariums with massive koi inside for people to watch while they ate. The place looked beautiful as well. The entire restaurant was covered in red and gold, making me wonder why it wasn't a more popular spot. The hostess silently directed us to an empty table. Besides the workers, we were the only ones inside. For how good the food was, I felt bad that this place wasn't packed. We got our drinks and went to load up our plates. The dinner was fairly normal for a while. I roasted my brother in the way only a little sister could. He pretended to be annoyed, but had fun hanging out, seeing that he's been away for so many months. We tried to stay quiet, though, so we wouldn't disrupt the server's slow night shift. I swore I needed to come by this restaurant more often after eating 2 plates of different meat dishes. The food had no reason being this good. Soon, I started to get full, leaving a few pieces of mushrooms and noodles on my plate. My brother had half a slice of cake on his. We sat and talked for a few more minutes, waiting for our stomach to settle before attempting to clean the last few bites. As we talked, someone else came in and sat at a table near ours. I glanced over at him, unable to help myself. I've never seen a person like him before. His skin dark, but hair golden. His eyes a bright blue, almost white. It made them look fake, and I didn't know why someone would wear colored contacts to go out for dinner alone. The waitstaff suddenly started to act weird. They whispered something to the man sitting down and nodded towards us. I met my brother's eyes to see if he wanted to leave or stay to watch what this was all about. The man said something in a low voice I couldn't make out and waved off the waiter's concerns. The waiter gave us an almost scared look for half a second and then hurried away. I looked around to see that almost everyone working in the place suddenly started to hover nearby. The man dressed in a dark red vest with gold pinstripe threads. His shirt buttoned up all the way up to his chin, making his neck look stiff. He rolled up his shirt sleeves to the elbows in such a neat way and buttoned them in place with glittering golden buttons. We both did our best not to stare, finding it hard. He didn't seem to notice the other 2 people looking at him. The stranger sat stiff and proper, waiting for something. The server came over with 2 plates in his hand, piled with stir-fried rice and some sweet and sour chicken. I gave my brother another look, wondering who this guy was that made him so important a buffet server would bring food to him. The plates were set down and the man started to eat, and then more servers came over. My mouth dropped open as more plates were set down. Soon, the entire table was covered with dishes, overloaded with different kinds of food. I couldn't finish even a plate and a half of what had been placed down in front of this man. Did this guy have friends coming by? No, the table he sat at only could hold 4 people. This was way more food than what 4 people could eat. In the time the plates had been set down, the man finished the first 2. He cleared the plates aside, and the server scooped them up for more to be set down in their place. This man wasn't big. He looked rail thin, and yet he already ate more than what myself and my brother did in 2 minutes after sitting down. We should have paid our bill and left, but we sat in our seats transfixed at the sight before us. We no longer tried to hide staring at this man eating. Another 4 plates set aside, and the servers were sweating. They were acting as if a wild animal had come inside but needed to act professional serving it. The music that played over some sort of hidden system cut out, letting us hear the sounds of his cutlery against his plates and faintly a dishwasher running somewhere in the kitchen. Oddly enough, the man wasn't making any disgusting chewing sounds. Well, until he got to the shrimp plate. The restaurant served whole shrimp with the head still attached. I've never tried eating them before. The man didn't take the heads off. No, he just shoved the whole thing in his mouth, and I could hear the shells crunching as he chewed. I already lost track of how much food he'd eaten. I caught my brother's eyes again, and he mouthed a silent, "What the heck?" His face pale, and I assumed my own expression was the same look of horror. The strange man got served a plate of sweet and sour short ribs. They honestly were my favorite things served at the restaurant, and I tensed up waiting to see if he ate them the same way he ate the shrimp. Shells were one thing, but bones? There was no way he was going to eat the bones. We both stared, mouths open as he ate through the pile with no issue, bones and all. The sound of his teeth cracking against the ribs, the only thing echoing inside the restaurant. This was insane. There was no way someone could eat like this. We had a chance to just leave. I doubted the owners would care if we fled without paying our bill by then. There was no way to figure out how much he ate with all the empty plates being taken away. We lost track of time, but I think it wasn't very long. This man ate more than what some people did in 6 months in under an hour. Finally, all the plates were removed and replaced by clean, empty ones covering his table. He turned his head to meet our gazes. I nearly screamed, having the set of bright eyes on us. We both froze, unable to move when he stood up, adjusting his vest. Even after eating so much, he didn't make a mess. No drips of sauce on his vest or at the corners of his mouth. He took a few steps to come over to our table, a smile on his face that made my body want to fold into itself. He stopped and placed a hand on the back of my chair, trying to look as friendly as possible. I wanted to scream. I looked up at my brother, silently begging him to do something. His hand went to his butter knife, gripping it so tightly his knuckles turned white. If this man tried anything to his little sister, he might attack him. Thank God for older brothers. I'm so sorry you both needed to witness all of that. It must have been unnerving for you. But this restaurant had a wonderful dessert prepared for me tonight, and I needed to come in right away. The stranger spoke, his voice sweet and with a hint of a southern accent. You ate the bones, I choked out, unable to say anything else. Oh yes, I'm able to digest things like that. One should always clean their plates. It's an insult to the chefs and the food otherwise, he said, and his eyes fell on our plates. We still had a few things left over. I started to sweat, my chest getting tight, waiting for him to do something. My mind going crazy with thoughts of what the heck this man really was and what he would do to us for not finishing our meals. But I suppose a few pieces left behind isn't the end of the world. After all, you did see something a bit strange. It's understandable not to finish your dinner with your upset stomach. I'll pay for your meals as an apology. I do know that my eating habits are a bit different from your own, he said, his friendly tone never wavering. I sighed, and my brother relaxed his grip on the knife. I wanted to leave and nearly did so when I saw his face twist into horror. He saw something before I did, and I heard a sound of muffled screaming. I tensed again, praying that if I didn't move, nothing would happen. The sound got closer, and out of the corner of my eyes, I saw the servers dragging a bound man through the empty dining room. He struggled harder when he got closer to the table of empty plates. His pleas for help hidden under the cloth stuffed in his mouth and wrapped around his head. Oh, there is my special dessert now. This one was found trying to climb into a window of a child in the dead of night. It seems that wasn't the first time he's done so, just the first time he was caught. My dinner threatened to come back up hearing those words. I let myself watch the servers place the struggling bound man on the table and on the plates. He broke a few as they forced him still. He kicked and thrashed, causing some of the broken shards to cut his clothing. The stranger didn't mind. He turned from our table to go back to his with a new meal. I only stayed long enough to watch the stranger's mouth literally unhinge from his jaw. I knew he wouldn't eat his dessert as neat and proper as he did with his dinner. I grabbed my brother by the wrist and dragged him out of that place, letting out a small scream when I heard the first sounds of the stranger biting down. We got into his car and got out of there, neither of us speaking. We didn't even notice my brother accidentally stole the butter knife until we got home. We threw it out, not wanting the thing in the house. It took hours for either of us to finally speak to each other. Do you want to go to the movies instead of dinner for your birthday next year? My brother asked in a shaking voice. I nodded, agreeing with him. It sucks that I could never eat at that restaurant again. I really liked their sweet and sour short ribs. I live in a small town with a population of 1,000 or so.
Everyone knows everyone, and most are overly nice people. I never found this strange, as most small towns stuck together as a community. There are 5 businesses in this town: a gas station, a restaurant, 2 bars, and a butcher shop that had just opened in town this year. Everybody loves the meat from there, and it's at such a great price, you can't go wrong. It was a Friday night, around 11 p.m., and I see police lights at the edge of town. A horrible accident had occurred as 2 linemen fixing power lines had gotten electrocuted and their charred bodies laid lifeless on the ground below the power lines. The police were the first to leave, as after they got their details, they took off. The ambulance hadn't arrived yet, as it had to come from another city that's over an hour away. Only a man in a bloody white apron stood out in the darkness, crouched down looking at the bodies, and it was then I realized it was Mark, the butcher. I watched quietly out of sight, wondering what in the world was he doing. Did he know those guys? Were they his friends? Family? All these thoughts kept running through my mind. And then I saw it. He took a hunting knife from his pocket and started carving big chunks of flesh from the charred bodies. I rubbed my eyes. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. He stopped, looked around, and then started hiding the slabs by a nearby bush. After several minutes of slicing, there wasn't much left but bone. I couldn't watch much more as I was so scared he would see me. And then he moved in a creature-like way, but super fast, like a hunched-over zombie from 28 Days Later. Super fast. He zipped right by where I was and was gone. I went home feeling dread, trying to come to terms with what I had seen. I didn't sleep at all that night. The next day, curiosity had gotten to me, so I had to go see if the slabs were still hidden off under the bushes or something. As I drove up, I saw crime scene yellow tape was all around the power line and the bodies were gone. I walked over to where I had seen him hide the stash, but it was all gone too. Only bloody remnants remained, and it looked like it left a trail off towards the woods on the outskirts of town. I followed the trail as best as I could before it went cold. I had to find out what happened to the slabs of meat. Did the butcher come back and make it seem like an animal did this? Did an animal or creature actually do this? I should have stayed and watched longer. I had to know. So I went by the butcher shop, parked, and observed for several hours. I saw nothing but the usual customers coming and going. I decided to go home and take a nap as I was short on rest from the whole situation. I had a terrible dream then. Mark the butcher was in it. He was chopping up human remains and making them into steaks, burgers, you name it. He was a bloody mess, and he had me tied up saying that I knew his secret and I would be next. I woke up in a cold sweat. Thank God it was just a dream. But I also took it as a sign. Have all the townsfolk, including myself, been eating human remains? Is that why he had the best prices in the state on red meat? I gotta get to the bottom of this. I skipped work the next day as I thought to myself, I need to know what's going on. It all seems like a bad dream and I haven't woke up yet. But I know what I saw and how Mark ran that night, like something not from this earth. Like a cryptid of some sort in a human body. Whatever he is, he must be stopped. I went to the butcher shop again, only to see that it was closed on a weekday. Strange. I tried to break in knowing it was wrong, but I knew something wasn't right. It was an older warehouse building, and in this small town with little to no crime, nobody had alarms. I grabbed my ladder from home and climbed up to the roof. I searched around and found a possible way in through the air duct. It was a commercial-sized system, so rather large. I had no problem climbing down in the passageway. It smelled like death so bad, I dry-heaved a few minutes before I made it part of the way through. Then I broke through and fell a good 15 feet. Gasping for air I didn't want to breathe as I was in the meat locker. I saw the horror that I had imagined. 2 policemen and a paramedic were hanging upside down with pools of crimson below them. They stunk like they'd been there for a while. Expressionless were the bodies. I then heard a door and a weird grunting and shrieking noise, and I ran and hid behind a stack of crates. Fear was filling my body now as I didn't know what to expect. Bursting through the door, there was Mark, all freakish looking and making animal-like noises as he hobbled quickly over to the bodies. I was a nervous wreck. If he finds me in here, I'm dead. I almost puked as I saw him fill up a black plastic bag, and he was making ravenous creature noises and feasting on the remains. He then started grinding the meat through a hamburger grinder and was packaging it and throwing it in the freezer. I didn't know how much more I could take. His eyes were all black and he had blood all over him. He was acting very strange, and then finally, he left the room. I heard more tools grinding, cutting, chopping in the next room. Now was my chance to get out. With crap luck, there was only one way back out, so I was going to have to stay until he left to go unnoticed. It's been hours now. It's finally quiet. I never heard anyone leave. Trembling in fear, I crawl out from behind the crates and make my way to the front entrance door. I creep as quietly as possible, and I still hear nothing. I push the door slowly open, peeking out in the dark. The coast looks clear, so I decide to make a run for the front door. As I do, I notice a pale, white-skinned person out of the corner of my eye. It starts to growl. I run full speeds towards the front door, crashing into it. The glass breaks and I'm cut all over, bleeding, barely conscious. As I hear something sprinting towards me from behind, it sounds like it's from the underworld. I gathered myself and stumbled outside, calling for help, but it's 2 a.m. and nobody's around. I start to run as fast as I can up the street. Looking back, I see Mark, deformed, hunched over, making dreadful sounds as he starts running at me. And then I see a man on his porch waving me over. It appeared he had a gun and he was pointing it right at me, shouting, "Don't move." I put my hands up, stating that there's something after me, but as I turned around to see where Mark was, he was gone. Trying to explain myself, the guy got on the phone with the police, not taking his eyes off me, gun still pointed at my chest. And then out of nowhere, the man was tackled and torn to shreds by Mark. I took that as my chance to get away. I hobbled home, not looking back, made it to my front door and hurried inside. I grabbed a bag full of clothes out of my house, got into my pickup, and took off as fast as I could without looking back. I moved out of state, leaving everything behind. It's been 6 months since I left. I've browsed the web on the small town to check on the status of things. And in just the short 6 months I've been gone, that little town has been completely erased. Unsolved disappearance of the whole city. It's been abandoned and is now a restricted area. Bubblegum? Lewis was my new best friend. After Mom and Dad divorced, he's been the only person to hang out with me at my dad's new apartment. He worked at nights and slept during the day, and I never wanted to stay in the too cramped apartment. I was supposed to spend summer with him, since he lived too far away, now to see me usually. Plus, since I caught COVID when summer started, I couldn't go to camp like I was supposed to. I still haven't even gotten my taste back. Bubblegum? It was the first thing Lewis said to me, and basically the only thing. He doesn't talk much, even now. But on the first day my mom dropped us off, he was swinging his legs on a patio looking down at me. He held up his little bag, and even with my glasses off, I could see different colors of some sort of pink candy. We've hung out every day since. Like I said, he doesn't talk much. Usually he just nods or shakes his head or shrugs. On more complicated things, he points. That's fine. I talk a lot, filling the air, and it doesn't seem like he minds. Bubblegum? I had politely declined the day we first met, but every day since, we spend most of the time talking or exploring, playing a game in my house or walking and chewing bubblegum. It was his favorite. It took a while, but I figured it was homemade early on. He carried it in a Ziploc. It came in different shapes and sometimes even different shades of pink. He only lives with his mom. She's often gone, so we spend time in his home playing with his things. My dad didn't want me venturing too far. A lot of animals and people seem to go missing here, and he was always worried about the two of us getting into trouble out there. Today was no different. Slumped against his couch as we played some video games, chewing bubblegum. In all honesty, I didn't like it at first. It was tough and chewy in a way that I couldn't bite all the way through. But I could chew it for a while. Sometimes his mom made it fresh, and it was wet and slimy. Other times she dried it with heat a bit too much, and I could crunch through it. I actually liked it burnt. Sometimes Lewis would go through all his cabinets and we would mix things with the gum, like marinating. That was the best when it was dried. I held up my hand expectantly towards Lewis, swallowing my piece. I used to throw out the pieces or swallow immediately to get rid of the sometimes funky taste, but it's been weeks and I've come around to it. I glanced to Lewis as he held up his hands and shrugged, an empty bag beside him. I guess there isn't any more. Oh. Lewis stood up, motioning for me to follow as he tapped the bag. We're getting more. I didn't know he kept another stash. I followed him past the kitchen, down the hallway, and then into his mom's room, surprisingly. It was a weird place to keep food. There, he walked into her closet and pulled down the attic stairs. I didn't even know we had any. Climbing up, there was this awful stench I couldn't get used to, and it was cold. Really cold. Climbing up, my first thought was this seemed to be the third floor, but it looked completely different. But that wasn't the most important thing I saw. Bodies. So many bodies. Dogs, cats, people. Scattered about, hung up on the wall or positioned on different tables. Not all body parts, though. Some legs, torsos, but it was mostly just one thing. Heads. What is this? I asked in horror. Lewis walked over to the nearest head, looking at me doubtfully as he reached in with his hand. The scalp slid off like a lid to Tupperware. He reached towards a cleaver, using his hands and cutting just a piece from inside before handing it out for me to take. Bubblegum. I peeled another strip out of my notebook absent-mindedly. You couldn't read it anymore, not that it mattered. Just some scribblings in the margins that once denoted hope, now empty promises. I didn't know how long it had been. I kept track for a while, but at some point, I stopped bothering. It didn't really matter except as a longing for some kind of normalcy. A lie I told myself in the dark when the candle would flicker out as the wick no longer outreached the wax. Rolling the paper into a ball, I stared out the grimy window. An old abandoned spiderweb hung heavy in the corner, dust weighing down, the last effort of a long-dead arachnid. My stomach grumbled. I had named that spider. It seemed like long ago. He was Bob. Or she. Didn't matter. I watched it spin the web, so intricate, its endgame being a meal that never came. I don't know what died first, the spiders or the flies. But it didn't matter now. I hadn't seen either in quite some time. It happened fast back then. So fast that there were no answers. One day there was a world with school and shopping and television and pizza delivery, and then, so fast, there was nothing. Nothing but me and some spiders and flies and the occasional stray cat. Till there wasn't. The smells kept my hunger at bay for a while. The world reeked of rot and death. For a while I got by with canned foods. For a while I was fed. Then one day I opened the last can, baked beans which I always loathed yet ate that day in a frenzy. I searched through the neighborhood, emptied immature vegetable gardens which cramped my stomach sometimes. I thought I'd get by this way indefinitely, but even cans expire and I tired of finding rotten food. It took longer and longer to ride to new neighborhoods, new towns, until one day I realized I couldn't muster the energy to pedal the bike anymore. I was now in the last place I'd live, some dusty trailer park in some unknown town. I had no idea how far I'd traveled. I set traps for local stray cats. They were hungry too, and the birds had been gone for a long time, and I only saw the occasional rodent. I didn't know why the cats had survived, but there was at least a half dozen of them, and I was sure they saw me as a meal. I hid in an old blue trailer, long neglected before everything ended. I heard the rustle of empty tin cans the following day. I had snagged an emaciated tabby who wailed and clawed before I managed to slit its throat. I had always wanted a cat growing up, but my mom was allergic, so I'd only had a goldfish. The fish was a much smaller meal. I'd never learned how to hunt or skin an animal, but desperation sure was a motivator. I did the best I could to get the fur removed before wrapping it in aluminum foil and setting up the little wood stove in the trailer. I shoved the cat in the stove hole. My stomach pained as I waited impatiently for my first meal in a week. There was so little meat on the bone, but I ate every bit. Even the sinew and organs. Taste didn't matter anymore. It was all about the calories. As the sun went down, I gnawed at the bone, desperately trying to get every single nutritional fiber. Eventually, I fell asleep on the dilapidated couch. Once the cats were gone, my options grew slim. There was a mouse one day, a roach. Then there was Bob, spinning that web. Not even momentarily satiating, just a desperate act as hunger pains tore through me again. A week later, my hair began to fall out. It was surely in the water by now, but water was all I had, a small creek in the woods that was barely keeping me alive. It tasted wrong, but I didn't care. Plumbing doesn't work without electricity, and the bottled water was long gone. I looked at the clump of hair and closed my eyes and shoved it into my mouth. I immediately gagged and spit it out. No way that was going down like that. I found some scissors and cut it into small pieces, mixing it with some creek water and drank it quickly. It tasted worse than the skin I'd been gnawing around my fingernails, but it was all about the calories. Anything to feel the smallest bit of energy, even for a moment. It's amazing, the will to survive. I could have ended it any time. I'd found guns, I'd found pills. I could have ended my suffering. But I didn't. Needed just one more year, one more week, one more hour. I walked over corpses for the last strand of dry spaghetti, and here now I rolled the last shred of paper from my notebook and shoved it into my mouth, chewing it like it was a piece of gum. I'd stripped bark from trees, eaten grass. I'd made myself sick on unidentified mushrooms in the woods. But I no longer could stand. The last meal I'd have would be what once was the journal of 14-year-old me. I once wrote about school and boys and dreams. And then I wrote which houses I'd emptied of food, and now, it was my last meal. As I slowly mashed the paper between my teeth, it occurred to me I'd never learned to drive. I'd never kissed a boy, or have a sweet 16, or go to college. I'd die in a stranger's trailer, their corpse rotting behind from a closed bedroom door, unaware that I was squatting. The light is growing dimmer, but it's only midday. The wad of paper sits in my mouth now. I'm too tired to chew anymore. Just a nap. I'm sure that'll help. And then I'll find something, anything else, to eat. It's only about the calories now.
Everyone discusses the wonders of venturing beyond their comfort zone and pursuing their true passion by starting a business. However, the challenges of doing so and not achieving success are rarely acknowledged. I acquired a business loan, a commercial space with an attached apartment, and established a bakery. Unfortunately, I failed to attract any customers despite my many attempts with Facebook ads, radio ads, and even renting out billboards. Not a single customer ever entered my doors. It's not like my baking is subpar, not to boast, but I don't even have anyone willing to give it a chance.
Perhaps small businesses struggle to survive and flourish in the face of the convenience offered by online shopping. My mother requested a cake for her upcoming birthday in a month, expressing her desire to be my first customer, and she will pre-order. However, I find the idea of my mother bailing me out again and being my first customer just embarrassing, and I want to avoid it at all costs. As a result, my funds and ambition are depleting. One night, I found myself self-destructing as I indulged in a late-night snack of my own creations. After consuming 2 cupcakes, I experienced a severe stomachache, a common occurrence after eating sweet baked goods, which is why I rarely indulge in them, especially late at night. Ironically, as a baker, I can barely enjoy my own baked goods. Feels like a curse. Devastated by my significant failures and this terrible stomachache, I was contemplating the wreckage of my life until I was interrupted by a sudden knock on the door of my bakery at 1 a.m. I anxiously wondered who would be here at such an ungodly hour. Although I initially planned to disregard the circumstances and not open the door, curiosity got the better of me, and I peered through the peephole. To my surprise, I found a friendly-looking man in an elegant suit and tie, sporting a bowler cap. He had slicked-back hair, glasses, and a warm, welcoming smile. He held a present wrapped in blue paper with a pink bow on top. A compulsion must have overcome me because I opened the door to a stranger at 1 a.m. "Hello there. Please accept my apologies for the late arrival. I just returned to town and wanted to offer a gift to the newest small business in town. Small businesses are a rarity nowadays due to the boom of online shopping. I hope this gift serves as encouragement for you to persevere. I understand how challenging it can be to achieve success, and perhaps this gift will assist you on your journey," he proclaimed. I was so taken back by the elegant man and his captivating speech that I stood there in disbelief. Not a word escaped my lips as I reached out to receive the generously offered present. The man smiled, tipped his hat, addressed me as "ma'am," and departed. And that was it. Feeling shaken by the peculiar encounter, I returned inside and sat down at my table, unwrapping the mysterious gift. Inside, I found a card and a black book. The card read, "Sometimes it's not about marketing. If something is remarkable enough, people will naturally gravitate towards it." I opened to the middle of the black book and started flipping through the pages, scanning its contents. To my disappointment, I realized I was looking at a cookbook. I left the book wide open on the table in my bakery and retired to bed, feeling defeated. I couldn't fathom why I believed that the enigmatic man held the answer to all my problems, but for a brief moment, I entertained the delusion. The following morning, I opened my bakery for the day and started brewing coffee. I noticed the book once again. I stared at it intently until I finished my cup of coffee. I picked up the book, and over the next couple of hours, baked several recipes from it, carefully reciting each ingredient out loud to avoid forgetting anything. I couldn't comprehend how these recipes could be significantly better than what I had been baking before, to the point where customers would seek me out. Yet, I was proven wrong. To my surprise, just as I finished icing a tray of cupcakes, I heard the bell on my bakery door, signaling the arrival of a customer. "You've got to be kidding me," I thought to myself as a customer stepped into my bakery for the first time since I began my business. Just as the card had predicted. "Hello, I was walking by and the irresistible aroma from your bakery compelled me to satisfy my sweet tooth. I couldn't resist coming in to see your delectable treats," the man said, his eyes widening as he beheld the assortment of pastries and cupcakes on my counter. He purchased a box of cupcakes to go and went on his way. I made my first sale. And joy overwhelmed me. Gradually, I started earning some money, attracting a few customers each day, though nothing extravagant. I was finally beginning to achieve a meager profit. However, what I truly needed were returning customers, people I could rely on to sustain my business for years to come. Despite the praises I received regarding the appearance and aroma of my goods, I had yet to witness a familiar face returning to make another purchase. This worried me. Against my better judgment, one morning I decided to sample my new creations to ascertain whether the recipes the mysterious man had given me were genuinely exceptional. They were incredible. I couldn't believe it. This is the most exquisite cupcake I've ever tasted, I thought, holding a half-bitten cupcake at eye level, scrutinizing its perfection. However, my elation was short-lived as I soon experienced a stomachache. This didn't make sense. I couldn't understand why, despite having numerous customers over the past month, not a single one had returned. Frustrated and confused, I concluded that I should sell a cake to my mom on her birthday, because then I could at least receive some honest feedback after prying for a while for the truth. I know, it seems low to sell a cake to your own mom on her birthday, but you don't know my mom. She would insist on paying me regardless of whether she slipped money into my pocket or left it in my apartment's mail slot. Somehow, she would ensure I received the payment, so it's easier this way. So, I baked a cake for my mom. Although she arrived in town late that night, she insisted on having cake and ice cream. She came to my bakery at 12:30 a.m., and after catching up for a while, she eagerly anticipated trying her birthday cake. I adorned the cake with candles spelling out 2 and 1, and wished my mom a happy 21st birthday, which made her burst into laughter at the obvious lie. My mom treasured birthdays and always celebrated, no matter what. I asked her to make a wish and watched as she leaned in to blow out the candles. To my disbelief, my jaw dropped as I witnessed a colossal, open mouth materialize on the cake with razor-sharp, shark-like teeth that swiftly engulfed my mother while she still had her eyes closed, beginning with her head, which caused her to be suspended upside down. And then, with its snake-like ability to stretch, its mouth widened to accommodate the rest of her body, and my mother disappeared with just a few jiggles. The cake, now a monstrous, bloated creature, turned to face me. It shouldn't have been able to see me, possessing only a giant mouth, and yet its gaze bore into my soul. I screamed in horror as the monstrous cake turned its attention towards me. In all the chaos that transpired, the black cookbook fell off the table and landed on the ground, reminding me that this is how it all started. I darted for the book, ducked, and retrieved it, barely dodging a swift chomp from the cake-like creature, and fled outside overwhelmed and hysterical at the events that just unfolded that I'll never be able to live down. Now I understand why none of my customers returned. But I was around the baked goods as well, and I'm still here. I screamed frantically, tears streaming down my face. Thumbing through the book's pages, my eyes darted around until they landed on the first page, which bore a crucial warning. Please read before using. Do not indulge in these delectable sweets after dark. The consequences of your sweet tooth may turn rotten. March 20th, 2021. Hello everyone, it is I, the Amanda Ham. I'm coming at you from your favorite corner of the internet. Now, I know you all know me. I'm this town's top influencer, party girl, entrepreneur, girl boss, but I'm also a real person. And I understand that while the internet is a fun place to connect, it is also sometimes a harsh, cruel place. In short, I read the comments. While most of you are beautiful and amazing people, there are some of you out there that have been constantly picking on me. And worst of all, you're picking on my weight. That's something I've struggled with for my whole life, and I get it. I've gained a few pounds, but y'all are so mean about it. I understand that it's 2021 and we shouldn't feel like we have to live by old beauty standards, but it's still hard. And I know I've gained some weight and that's something I'm not comfortable with either. But I'm out there partying every night and every day I'm exploring this town and taking in all that I can. I guess I took it in too much and it's catching up with me. I look back on the quest to try a slice of pizza from every place in town as the culprit. But that was such a fun video to make. And so, I used some of that Patreon money y'all have been so generously been sending, and I have decided to invest in a personal chef. Her name is Kitty, and y'all, she means business. She speaks fast and in short sentences. I can tell she was getting frustrated by the way I talk and talk and talk, but she'll come around. Doesn't everyone? Now, I know you're never supposed to trust a skinny chef, but I figured if I want to get skinny, I should learn from the best. But this woman is rail thin. I swear, you could practically see her bones. I felt like such a cow next to her. But I mean, she obviously seems to know what she's doing. She asked a bunch of questions about my favorite foods and my size and all that, so fingers crossed it's gonna be good. I'll let you know. Update. Y'all, Kitty rules. She just started and has me on this crazy diet. First thing was to get rid of all my mirrors. She does not want me to constantly look at her work, which makes sense to me. I'm not too sure of all the details. You know me, numbers and details aren't my thing. But right now she has me eating 24 homemade donuts. Apparently something about the high calories will give me the energy to work out better or something. But I'm not a scientist, so I don't ask. However, I am eating now and I don't feel full of energy. I feel a little bloated, but she's the boss, so... One thing was a little weird. I asked what happens if I don't finish all the donuts, and the look in her eyes was wild. Like super scary. There was like a storm in her eyes. She just said very sternly that I must finish everything that she makes. And then she went back to cooking. And like, these are amazing. I've polished off 6 since I started this update, and I'm pretty full, but Kitty's the boss. Scary and strict boss. I better get going though. Dinner's in an hour and I need to finish these donuts by then. But it is pizza night tonight. Talk to you guys soon. April 13th, 2021. Hello everyone, it is I, the Amanda Ham, or should I say the new and improved Amanda Ham. I've been on Kitty's diet and y'all, it rules. Every day I wake up to the smell of bacon. When I make it to the kitchen, Kitty has made quite the spread. There's always waffles and pancakes and eggs and bacon and bagels. It's incredible. As per her orders, I have to eat everything she makes. Once I'm done, it's time to work out. Well, actually, I work out while I nap. Yes, you heard that right. My workouts are the naps. So Kitty explained it to me. Because I'm eating so much, my body is naturally working out all the time to constantly burn all the food I'm eating. So the more I eat, the more my body will work to burn it all off. And the higher calorie the meal, the harder the workouts will be. It makes so much sense. You know the expression, no pain, no gain? Well, I eat until I practically am bursting all the time, so it's definitely working. But anyways, after my first workout, it's lunchtime. And then after that, I take another workout. When I wake up, it's dinner time and then dessert. And after all that, I am exhausted, so I get milkshakes in bed. It has been tough adjusting to this new rigorous routine, but Kitty really is the best. She's just so concerned and makes sure I push myself so that I'm in the best shape I can be. What an amazing friend. And I feel great. Unfortunately, Kitty decided to do my laundry, and like a real dummy, she shrunk most of it. But she was going to go out and go shopping for me, which is great. I didn't know that the new trend was to cut out all the tags on clothes. Thankfully, Kitty is helping me stay cool. And I'm excited to show off my new figure to fellow local influencer and my best friend, Jenna Cake. She should be coming by later, and I'm so pumped for her to see me. Update. Jenna is running super late. I tried to call her, but her phone goes to voicemail, which means it's off. Which, if you know Jenna, you know is strange. Update. Still no Jenna, but Kitty is making the most amazing steaks tonight. I didn't even know we had steak in the house, but Kitty must have gone shopping during one of my workouts. It smells amazing. I hope Jenna gets here soon. July 27th, 2021. Hello everyone, it is I, the Amanda Ham. First and foremost, I want to say to all of the Jenna Cake fans on this vlog, we are not giving up hope. I know no one has seen her in a few weeks, but we cannot give up hope. She's an amazing friend, and I am sure we will find her soon. Also, just so everyone knows, I'm fully aware that her car was found up the road from my house. I went to the police and gave a full statement. She's my friend, and I was looking forward to having her over. It's like she disappeared but I'm sure she'll reappear soon. I'm positive she'll turn up. I also wanted to address all the scientists in the comments who don't believe in Kitty's work. It's easy to criticize someone and their methods from behind a keyboard, but Kitty is amazing. Her food is delicious, and it feels like the pounds are melting away. And just to shut everyone up, I'm going to jump on the scale right now. Update. We cannot find the scale. It was weird. When I asked Kitty, her eyes twitched. I figured she must be excited that I want to check on her great work of slimming me down. I just told her I needed to find one to shut the trolls up. Update. Wow, what a roller coaster I was on. So I found an old scale that looked like it was purposefully destroyed, and when I stepped on it, I almost passed out. It said I weighed 350 pounds, which would have meant that I gained 200 pounds in 4 months, but that couldn't be the case because I've been sticking to this strict diet. Thankfully, Kitty cleared it up. See, the scale was really old and needed to be recalibrated. So we took something that we knew the weight of, the last 5 pounds of pot roast that Kitty had made me eat, which was tough because I was already very full, but I did it. And once I gulped down the last bite, my abs were so ripped and bloated that I couldn't see my feet, let alone the scale. Thankfully, Kitty was there to tell me that I'm at 110 pounds. So I've lost 40 pounds in 4 months and I feel great. Now, will you all just believe me? August 18th, 2021. Hello, everyone. It is I, the Amanda Ham. I am currently finishing up my 3rd full fried chicken of the day, and I'm feeling buff. I swear, this Kitty is a miracle worker. All of the clothes she buys me just hangs right off, and she's constantly changing out my outfit, so I always look fresh. Although it is strange, because the other day after I ate a 7-layer cake on my own, my butt got stuck in the chair. It was so embarrassing, but Kitty explained that all of my working out is making my butt thick. And I'm okay with that. You know what's ironic is I'm here getting toned and slim, and poor Kitty has been packing on the pounds. It started after my parents said they were coming for a visit, but they got here while I was sound working out, and when I woke up, there was a typed note saying that they had to leave right away. Their loss. Kitty made the most amazing ribs that night, and man, she really pigged out. Then my sister was coming over because she was worried about something. Well, she's always worried about something. But she also never came by. I got a text from her saying, "Amanda, I'm not coming. Everything is okay." It's a little strange because my sister always calls me Mandy, but whatever. Something's clearly up with her. She hasn't returned my calls, but she'll pop up soon. Anyways, after she didn't show, Kitty made the greatest cheeseburgers I've ever had. I swear, I had about 20 that night, but Kitty must have put away double that. She's starting to get pretty chubby. But I appreciate her making all of the healthy pies and cakes and cookies and milkshakes and cheesecakes and beers and everything for me. While I guess she's picking out and fattening foods and it's starting to show. But there's always drama. I don't get why y'all don't understand how great Kitty has been. Seriously, she's like the only person I've seen in months, and it is so kind to me. She's constantly feeding me and massaging me and making sure I'm comfortable. The way she looks at me after I finish a meal is the look of a true friend. She just stares at me, and that's how I know she's a true friend, because she's so proud of my progress. However, to show that everything is on the level, I've decided to let 3 of my best fans come over. So check your inboxes. Charlie Fries, Shauna Pork, and Trisha Cobbler. You 3 will get an exclusive tour. Yay! Update. All 3 fans confirmed that they were coming almost immediately. I guess y'all have been following my weight loss story very closely. I'll go let Kitty know to expect guests. I'm sure she's gonna make a feast. Update. All 3 fans were a no-show. I guess there's a COVID concern, but like, get over it. We're safe here. Update. They missed out. Kitty went nuts on cooking. I've never seen so much meat before in my life. And you know me, I'm a carnivore. It was such a great night. Kitty and I seriously binged hard. We ate so much and had such a good time. September 25th, 2021. Hello, everyone. It is I, the Amanda Ham. I'm so excited. Kitty said that tonight is the most special night of our partnership, and I'm going on a special trip as a reward. She said I am fit as I'm going to be, and y'all, I feel it. I've been working out so much that it feels like even walking has gotten to be tough. I swear, just moving around has gotten to be such a workout. Anytime I'm moving, I'm out of breath, and I'm really pushing myself. Thankfully, Kitty has been bringing me most of my meals. Also, I'm so glad I'm going on a trip because my house needs some work. Did you know that over time, door frames can shrink? Old homes are weird like that. Kitty was even telling me how it's common for furniture to break because people sitting in it are in too good of a shape. I never heard it, but it makes sense to me. But I feel great. I'm constantly full. My body is working overtime. This morning, Kitty suggested I take a gravy bath, and it was so soothing. I just laid in there for like hours, eating all the platters of stuffing Kitty brought me. I'm just stuffed with stuffing. My body is working so hard that I swear I cannot even stand up. This diet is a must try. I suggested that Kitty should go on this. The poor woman is really blimping up. And I know I shouldn't be catty about Kitty. Unintentional pun. But I think for someone who's so good at diets that she'd stay trim herself. I saw her leave to see the neighbors a few nights ago. I was looking for seconds, fifths on my ice cream sundaes, and I saw her out the window. The poor thing must have eaten the neighbors out of the house and home. She looks so bloated. Poor thing must have eaten the neighbors out of house and home. She looks so bloated coming back to ours. I thought she was going to start rolling. I was a little offended that they didn't invite me over for dinner, but Kitty explained that their food wasn't on my diet plan, so it's best I don't look for my neighbors and get tempted. But seriously, Kitty is super thoughtful. But it seems no one's home these days anyways. I looked out my windows and their mail is practically bursting out of the box. Just like Kitty bursting out of her jeans. Just like Kitty bursting out of her jeans. Sorry, that's me, and it was the last one. I'm so proud of myself. I made a promise to drop the weight. I found the best chef to make that happen, and I've put in the work. There's so many times when I didn't think I could eat another pound cake, but I did it. And when Kitty said I had to drink a keg of beer in a night, and I did, even though I thought about quitting, I stuck with it, and now look at me. Well, you can't, because all my cameras are broken, but what you would see in front of you would shock you. Believe me. Believe me. Update. Okay, Kitty just told me that it's time to get moving. She said that too many people have gone missing, and now she has to go too. That makes sense. I'm sure she's in such high demand that she needs to get to her next client. So I am so excited for my trip. I'm a little worried about how full I am. I really cannot stand up right now. Whew, my body's working hard. I do hope that Kitty can help me get out of this gravy tub soon, though. Update. Kitty just said it's time for one last meal together, and I don't know. I'm still kind of stuffed with stuffing. But I could always make room for her food. I hope it can change first. Kitty just dumped a gallon of cream on me. And while it's delicious, I feel sticky. Although, it's mixing with the gravy well. Update. Okay, time for this feast. I'm still covered in cream and gravy. It's tasty. Thankfully, Kitty is coming to me because I still cannot stand on my own. I hope my tub didn't shrink like my couch did. I just tried to stand and something felt off. She looks so happy though. Truly, what a great friend. I don't see any food though, which is strange. This might be the first time she's come empty-handed. Whatevs, she can use it. She's really blimped up. You know, maybe it's because I'm too full to stand, but I've never noticed how big her belly has gotten or how wide her mouth can get. Maybe being down here, unable to get up, covered in butter and filled to the brim with stuffing. I'm wondering if maybe some of you all trolls had a point. Like, it's weird that she said a lot of people went missing, right? Kitty did say I'd be reunited with my parents and sisters soon. Well, they must be on vacation wherever I'm going. But I'm looking at myself in the reflection of the gravy, and I seem a little rounder than I thought someone who weighed 100 pounds, according to Kitty, should. I'm starting to wonder if I've put on some weight. September 26, 2021. I am Amanda. Everything is okay. I am on vacation. No phone or computer here. Bummer. Kitty is a great cook and good friend. You all should hire her. DM me here for her number. She can start next week, not sooner. Her schedule is very, very full right now. See you all soon.